Hello. It's Kim Kral. I'm in my closet. I'm literally in my closet. I'm sitting. I had to move all my Christmas decorations so I could just sit in here. My legs will probably go numb, but welcome to the first episode. This is Crawl Space. Welcome to Crawl Space. Which I'm not really sure what it's going to be. I think I'm just going to ramble to myself for an hour, and if you're entertained or you laugh, I will keep going. Or if I'm entertained and I laugh, I will keep going. I will for sure be entertained and I will laugh. I have at my feet, I have WNBA certified basketball that I'm putting my feet on. My father just really wanted me to play basketball, man. I'm 5'11", and I was a tall, gangly kid, and he just really wanted me to know how to play basketball. And I was the kid who, we played soccer. I played soccer when I was little, and once I got on the field, I was the little girl that was on the other side of the action, picking flowers and playing with my own hair. And my dad and the coach would be standing on the sidelines just screaming at me, what the fuck are you doing? Get in the game. And I remember at 9 years old, I looked up and looked at them and was like, what are they going to do? They're not going to be able to come in here. Oh, my cat is meowing at me. I literally am in my closet. So he is like, why are you screaming in your closet if you can hear? Come here. I wonder if that will ruin the whole podcast. It's been... Actually, I can't tell how long it's been. It might have been a minute. It might have been 10. Who knows? Hi, baby. My cat is... But yeah, so my father just wanted me to be athletic so bad. He wanted a boy, I'm pretty positive. And then he caught me playing dolls when I was 16 with my best friend Aspen. Sorry, Aspen, to call you out. I probably will call you out a bunch of times in this podcast. But Aspen and I played dolls at 16 secretly. And we were out in the garage one time, and we had this big blanket laying out, and then we had our whole town set up. Aspen once told me that I played dolls weirder than any other girl she'd ever played dolls with, because most little girls, I guess, play dolls with it was oh, hey, here's house and mom and dad and kids go to school and normal. But I had a weird childhood, so I was this is the villain and this is his sidekick, and then we're always trying to get murdered, and we're real poor, so we have these wagons, and then also my boy dad doesn't have boy clothes, so we're gonna dress them all up like women and pretend they're in a women's only town. God bless Aspen, she just sort of went with it the whole time. So I was not athletic. So we had our whole little town set up. The girls' town is what we called it, and where only girls were allowed there, and that was how we justified that my dad, my doll dad, didn't have male clothes, because he had to wear a dress, because that's the only clothes I had for my dolls at the time. Sidebar, we actually made male clothes for him later. Good for me and Aspen, right? So we're out in the garage, and we have this whole thing sprawled out, and we're really playing. We're really getting into it. We're 16, which is way too old. And my dad opens the door, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, what the, he was so, and then he went, oh God. And you could tell in that moment, he was like, why couldn't it be drugs? Why are you two not doing drugs in the garage? But instead, you're doing dolls. We were playing dolls. So my dad, when I was in high school, and I had very big hands. I still have big hands, but I had really big hands for then. He got me a WNBA certified basketball and tried to get me to play basketball. He one summer made me do 12 layups every night before I went to bed. 12 layups in a row, and if I missed one, I had to keep going. I had to start over. And he was just like, you have a knack, you have to play basketball. And so right now my feet are on those. I literally am in my closet. What's up, guys? It's Crawl Space with Kim Kral. I'm pretty excited about this. I forgot to time, but I am assuming I'm going to do this for an hour, 45 minutes. We'll see. I don't know. I'm just going to talk to you, see how things are going. I have a couple segments in the show. God, we're in quarantine right now. It's a lockdown. As of Saturday, a couple of days ago. It's April 1st, and I've been in lockdown quarantine since Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, I bought my last groceries. I went to Food for Less, which I had never been to before, but Trader Joe's was, pretty much vacant. And my the cashier was like, "Oh, that place might have some stuff." I got some eggs. I got some cat food. I got Italian sausage. I'm going to have some segments in here, or I haven't decided if I want to have just one solid segment that I call TMK, too much information, or if just like that's going to be a catchphrase. The only meat they had left was Italian sausage, hot Italian sausage. So I bought like 4 packs of those. And guys, 3 days into quarantine, I ate 3 of those sausages raw. Yep. Yeah, I ate 3 of them raw. It's wild I don't have salmonella poisoning. Mostly because here it goes. I have a deep, dark secret. Maybe this is too much information. I have a deep, dark secret, and it's I love raw bacon. Here it is. Let's just get it out on the table. Who knows who's going to hear this? And I remember, so I broke up with a boyfriend a couple years ago, and it was one of those really sad breakups where it was like we didn't want to break up, but we needed to. Maybe that's a story for another time, but it was a slow and sad, and like we're saying our goodbyes. And we're laying on my couch, one afternoon, and it was going to be the final day. It wasn't the final day, but to us it was the final day, and I was like, just out of nowhere, I went, raw bacon. And he looked at me and he goes, what? And I was like, raw bacon, man. I like to eat raw bacon. And he gave me a grossed out, like a combo grossed out look, plus, a little bit of curiosity as to why the hell I would just say that. And I was like, there, now you know it all. Now you know literally everything there is to know about me, because that is a deep, dark secret. I have not died from like raw meat poisoning thus far. But when I said that, I was like, now you know everything. And he looked at me and he goes, my mom didn't tell me she loved me until I was 21 years old. And I think that's why I have a hard time telling women that I love them, because she didn't love me until I was 21. I was like, whoa, you totally made that dark and deep. I was just letting you know that I eat raw bacon, dude. I love sardines too. I've been really, really embarrassed about the sardine love for a long time, but then I stepped out in the world and apparently a lot of people like it. It's really hot in my closet. I had a couple shots of whiskey. I did a Zoom happy hour with a couple of friends, which is just, man, I guess it's the new normal. You know what I mean? I guess it's we're in lockdown, we're quarantined, and honestly, like I look at it like I had a really sketchy ass childhood, so like I look at this as like it weirdly prepared me to be in lockdown as an adult. Like my dad's house, I spent all of my time in my bedroom, because it was like whatever the fuck was going on out there, I didn't want to know. And then my mom had like various her socioeconomical, I can't say that word, but you know what I'm saying, status always depended on whatever boyfriend she had at the time. So when she had a poorer boyfriend or one of the drug addicts, like she had like 1-bedroom apartments. And so normally, and I didn't know this was weird until a couple of years ago. This is how I find out my childhood shit's weird, is that like I mention it in a group of people and then everyone looks at me and I'm like, oh, that's one of the weird things. My mom used to put a really big box in one of like her hallway closet, and I would just play in that box with the closet closed. And that's so sad now, but like I loved that box. I was safe in that box. So it's interesting because like the quarantine has sort of taught me about, or the quarantine is like kind of, I had practiced as a child. Like I'm thriving, dude. I'm excited about launching this. Who knows? I have a radio show, and so I have not been able to do that. And no stand up, no work, no side jobs, nothing. And I've learned that I know how to cook. I'm sewing, I'm painting, now I'm doing this. I've written 8 chapters of a book, and I think it's just because I had this like weird childhood where like I was left to my own devices all the time because my parents were just off doing, Tom and Terry shit. Those are their names, by the way. But man, it's really hot in this closet. Quarantine has been crazy. I don't know. I found myself eating a piece of cake on the toilet the other day. So let me back up. So I made a cake. I made like a full-blown cake. I wonder if this will fuck with the sound at all. I'm going to open the closet just some. Oh my God, my cats are just staring at me like, what the fuck are you doing in there, Mom? Yeah, it's a little loud. It's just so hot in here. I will do this naked next time. Although naked, actually, like what I've learned from camping is naked in small spaces actually makes you much warmer. Like your body heat is warmer. Like if you're ever camping, like here's a weird side tip for you. If you're ever camping and it's cold, sleep naked. It's actually much more like your body heat is good for you. I don't know. My crazy father taught me that though. And that is a whole other story for another time. But, so I'm in here and I'm like, oh, if I was naked, I'd probably be way hotter. Like hotter, you know what I mean? Like hotter, like sexier. God, we've been going 10 minutes. It's bananas. So I made this cake. I made this big cake the other day. And let me say, when I was eating the cake on the toilet, let me preface, I was not drinking. I was not drunk. There was no booze or any kind of substance in my body at all. I just cut myself, you're alone for days. Like I've been alone for like 2 weeks, and just like the only human contact I have is on the phone or through Zoom, but there's no real contact. It's very interesting. It's like a brave new world. And so you're just a little absent-minded. So I cut a piece of cake and I'm kind of eating it, and then I go to the bathroom because I have to pee, and then I sit down on the toilet and I put the cake on the sink area, and then I start to pee, and then I pull up the cake and I start eating it while I'm peeing, and then I come to and I realize, fuck, I'm eating cake on the toilet. This is a brand new low. Is it though? It's kind of awesome. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm done peeing. Do I put down the cake and wipe, or do I just finish the cake on the toilet? Because like if I don't finish the cake on the toilet, then I have to wipe and then like wash my hands so I can eat the cake, or it's just like 6 more bites of the cake. And a toilet's not bad to sit on. Like there's worse things to sit on. So I just sat on the toilet with nothing coming out of my bottom half, and I just ate a piece of cake. And then I was like, oh man, don't ever tell anybody about this. Also, if I'm being honest, it's not the first time I've eaten on the toilet. It usually works out that same way, where I like kind of black out just because I'm zoned out, and then I wake up eating on the toilet. Tell me this happens to other people. Every time I tell other humans stuff like this, they go, no, I never do that. I don't think that's true. I feel like we're all fucking weirdos and animals, you know? Speaking of washing your hands, so we've been washing our hands a ton in this whole thing. I mean, it is a little alarming that this seems to be a new thing for a lot of people, but like, I know a lot of women who don't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. A lot. And they're hot too, dude. Like, I'm friends with some hot broads, and I've watched them in public bathrooms pee, and then when they're done, they just start to walk out the front door, and I'm like, yo, you gotta wash your hands. And they go, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm not going to lie. When I pee at home, I never wash my hands. I'm at home. And then sometimes when you're out in public, like if I'm at a gas station bathroom, I don't wash my hands there. It's like, I feel like it'd be grosser to wash your hands and touch all that other stuff. Like, you know what a gas station bathroom looks like? It's real sketchy. It's like the Dexter murder scene bathroom, if you ever saw Dexter. But like, it's just, I mean, even touching that faucet seems grosser. So it's just easier to just only touch your private parts and use like your sleeve of your shirt to open and shut the door. Like, I don't touch anything in there because it's so gross that I don't wash my hands in there. And I never do it at home. I was watching this little short story webisode thing my buddy has posted since the whole quarantine has happened, and he has like a puppet that's asking him questions about coronavirus. And one of the questions are, how do viruses spread? And my buddy says, well, they spread when you don't wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. I feel like there's holes in that. Like, he's like, when people don't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom, they get sick. And I'm like, Do they? Is that a thing? Because I should be way sicker. I do wash, like if I'm in a clean bathroom, like a normal clean public bathroom, I'll wash my hands. But if it's disgusting or I'm at home, I don't wash my hands. I may regret telling people this. That's 2 deep, dark secrets I have told you about. Raw bacon eating and that I always don't wash my hands after I go to the bathroom. I have a buddy who only wears, he says he only wears his underwear because he's like, well, he's like, I'd go commando, but like sometimes you have a really rough poop and then you like don't get it all when you wipe. So then you get skid marks. And that happens to me like all the time because I have a hairy ass. And I was like, what? No, that's not a thing. We all wipe until it's gone, right? Like, is that a thing? I feel like for someone who talks about poop all the time, I should know if everyone else's wiping situation is that way. But I feel like you just wipe until nothing is left on the toilet paper. And then he's just like, no, I just wipe one and done. And if it doesn't all get up, then I just know my underwear will catch it. Yikes, bro. Yikes. Jesus Christ. Oh, man, guys. It's a wild time. It's really scary. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I like spontaneously cry every time I see another human being. Or like, I ordered to-go food from one of my favorite restaurants, locally owned. My best friend's husband, who is also a best friend, owns Kitchen 24. And so I was able to, I got some takeout food the other night to, support my friend's local business. And also I was having a bad day and they have amazing tomato soup and grilled cheese. And so I went outside to get the order and the delivery driver has like gloves and a mask on and he like hands me my food and I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like I almost cried. Like I like teared up. It's such a scary time. And here I am in my closet trying to do an hour podcast by myself like an asshole. I just started watching The Walking Dead. That's sort of where this whole thing like spurred from. I just started watching this. I just started watching this 2.5 weeks ago, and they only have 10 seasons, and I've already blown through. I'll be caught up in 3 episodes. Like I'm in season 10, episode 11, and I can't tell if I'm ashamed by that. I am doing other things. I'm gonna open this up a little bit. I wonder if the sound will be different. We'll find out. That's my closet. My cats are staring at me. Oh God, you'll hear all about Henry. But so I started watching this, like 10 years too late. Everybody really got into it. I watched it, like I had a boyfriend like 7 years ago who was trying to get me into it. And he showed me one episode and it was with the governor. And it was like 6 people like hesitated shooting this dude when he was a clear lunatic. I'd watched 5 minutes of this thing and that guy was clearly crazy. And then there was like 7 people who had an opportunity to shoot him and they just didn't shoot him. And I was like, this is a dumb show. Either I would just do way too well in the apocalypse because I would just shoot that motherfucker. Oh man, you can hear the car. It's so hot in this closet. Maybe I'll put on a fan. What if I just deck this whole thing out? But I was like, you shoot that guy. Like, there's no room for, a remorse and ego in an apocalypse. There's just none. Like, every mistake I've seen in The Walking Dead is with someone who is like, I'm sad and I'm not acting the way I should be acting in an apocalypse. So they make a mistake. Or it's one of those people with the ego who's like, I know better than the whole group. For some reason, I've decided I know better than the whole group. So I am going to go off and take on these 25 people on my own. That's how a lot of people die. Gets me real amped up. I don't know. It's an intense show, dude. I think I'm going to watch Breaking Bad next. I tried to watch Breaking Bad a couple years ago, actually with a boyfriend whose mom never told him he loved him, that I told I loved eating raw bacon. I tried to watch it with him because he was like, it's so good. You have to watch it. I got to episode 2, and it took the guy so long. Like the Bryan Cranston, they had to kill some drug dealer. And it was a whole episode of him hemming and hawing. And like, maybe I'm a sociopath or maybe I don't know how I would actually react to this whole thing. But like, like to a murder situation, but I was just like, kill the guy. Like, to me, it was just really black and white. Like, it's like, well, you kill the guy and you get to keep living your life. Oh. No, I think we're still going. It's so weird. My computer just froze, but I think we're still going. Yeah, we are. Okay, that'll be a really fun human moment for you guys, because I'm human. I am a human being. When I was a kid, I was super freaked out that I was adopted. Like, it was like a real fear of mine. Like, I don't even know why. I don't think I knew anybody who was adopted. I don't even think I fully grasped what being adopted was about, but I was like super freaked out about being adopted. And I'd ask my mom all the time if I was, and she'd always say no. And then one time she goes, well, honey, and then got down to my level, like kneeled down like adults do with little kids, and put her hands on me, like in a loving way, not a violent way, but like a loving way. I don't know why I clarified that. Once you get to know my parents through this, you'll be like, it's good you clarified that. In like a loving way. And I was like, Mom, was I adopted? And she goes, honey, no, we hatched you in the basement. Oh, man. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And then she was like, of course, like, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. A lot of people think I might be an alien. A lot of people think I'm an alien because I have a lot of gaps of knowledge. Gaps. I don't know what this accent is that comes out sometimes. Gaps of knowledge. But yeah, I just had a weird childhood. Like, I spent a lot of it alone. Or my parents were just doing bizarre, sometimes illegal, sometimes scary, sometimes just like nonsense, you know? And so a lot of it I was just spending alone. And so there's a lot of stuff I was never taught. There was a lot of, like, I liked 2 movies. I liked the Star Wars the Star Wars trilogy, which I count as one movie. Indiana Jones, which I also count as one movie, like all the 3, not the 4th last one, the Crystal Skulls. That's some bullshit. Like, I'm so mad at Harrison Ford, like, so mad. Like, Harrison Ford killed Han Solo, and he's dead to me for it. And I don't understand. He looks at George Lucas, and he's like, I don't want to be Han Solo for another episode. I'm not going to do it for 3 more. I'm just not going to do it. I want Han Solo to die. Oh, but I'll do another Indiana Jones. That whole thing was bullshit. It's so terrible. Although he did come back for the final episode of Star Wars to talk Kylo Ren down, so that was kind of exciting, I guess. But I don't know, man, that whole thing really bummed me out. But so I love Star Wars, the original trilogy, Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, and Robin Hood the cartoon, which I know does not match the other 2, but like those were the 3 movies I watched, or the 7 movies I watched. And so I never saw a lot of these movies. I think after I'm done with Walking Dead, I'm going to start watching the movies and talking about them on here or Instagram Live about my opinions on them, because everyone really liked my opinions on the fucking Walking Dead. I've never seen Godfather, any of the Godfathers. I think I saw like 10 minutes of it once, and I was just like, meh. But I might like it. Is it real violent? If it's real violent, I like violence. This is my ideal favorite movie. Like, ideal movie is a thriller, very violent, with a twist ending and a good message. You know what movies have that? Both movies. Equalizer and The Equalizer 2. It's very violent. It's a thriller, so you're excited the whole time. Always a twist ending, because there's always a bad guy you're not expecting. There's always a bad guy, at least in Equalizer 2. And then it's a good message. Like the first one, he's helping that Russian prostitute, get out of the whole prostitution game so she can go back to school, and she's really grateful for it because she was getting beat up quite a bit by that mob guy. And then the second one, he helped that young kid who was getting into the gang life because his brother was killed by the gang, and got him into painting. And then he also solved the murder of his best friend who's in the CIA. It's a perfect movie. Plus my friend Johnny Scorsese, I can never say his name, Johnny Scortis. He's an Equalizer 1. I watched both movies like once a month, and when I met Johnny, I was hosting, oh God, you ready for this? This story is a nightmare. I was hosting a show And I was pretty new in comedy. I was like a couple years in, and I was hosting a show at the Comedy Store in the original room. The last time I've ever been in that room, like performed in that room. So I feel like I need to get back on that horse because I'm terrified of it. This night was awful. So I'm hosting, and so the Comedy Store, and most clubs do this, where they have developmental, I think it's just development spots, where it's basically like people who work at the club get a 5-minute guest spot at the beginning of the show or at any point in the show, depending on the producer. And so the guy who's running the show, I won't use his name, he gave me a lot of stage time, he's wonderful, but I'm just not going to say his name. He was like, hey, I want you to basically go up and don't do any material up top, just introduce these guys, have them do a cold open. So I was like, oh, okay. So I introduced the two guys. It goes okay. I think I forgot one of their names. Or the first one, I can't remember. Maybe it was Johnny. Johnny might have been development spot. Because I met him, and he comes up to me, and he's like, hi, I'm Johnny, I'm first. We'll say this for grin's sake, it's been years, but he comes up, he's like, I'm Johnny, and in my brain, I was like, oh my god, it's the guy from The Equalizer, it's the guy from The Equalizer, be cool, Kral, be cool, Kral, be cool, Kral. So I was like, hey, man, what's up? And I had a Bronco shirt on, and he was a Bronco fan, so we, like, instantly bonded, we're still friends. So he gives me his intro, so I go up, I open, I cold open, I bring him up, he basically opens the show, but I butcher his fucking name. I butcher it. I was like, it's Johnny Scorsese. I don't even know what the fuck I said. And then, afterwards I apologized profusely, and he was just like, honestly, you launched me into my first stroke, so it was fine. So then, at this point, I'm butchering the first and the second comic name, and it's a cold open, so they're not doing great, because that's not a great way to do a show. Like, a host needs to come up and warm up the audience. It's just, in my experience, I host a show every week at a club in Burbank called Flappers, and if I don't do my job of warming them up, the whole show is tanked. So the fact that he was just like, have them do it and then go up and do your bits. So they're already not in, you know what I mean? Like, they're already not in the audience. Like, it's just like, oh, these two comics bombed. This bitch doesn't know anyone's name. And at the time, I was a couple years in, so I was nowhere near the level of being in the OR on the fucking Saturday night. And especially, like, most of my jokes were about how I was just, like, drinking 32 ounces of sea salt water to get myself to shit, which, is pretty funny now to me. But then, not doing great. And so they hated me. And the thing is, with the producer, he didn't give me he told me their names. Like, I'm a visual person, so he didn't give me, like, a list. Like, here's a list of the comics. He gave me, he was like, oh, the next guy is Leo DeStefano. I don't know. I made that name up. Obviously, it's made up. He's like, the next guy's this. So I get up there, and I was just like, I'm trying to get him back. And I'm like, come on, guys. Let's laugh. Something poop, 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 And no one's laughing. So then after that, I'm like, the next guy is, So a couple, I either forgot their names or I fucking butchered their names. And then I'm blowing this, man. It's awful. I still have nightmares about this show. The show is like 7 years ago. And I'm about to call a guy up, and I literally blanked. I was like, I couldn't even, John, Paul, no idea. I was like, the next guy coming up is, no, the podcast didn't stop. I literally stood there and froze. It was like 200 people in a Saturday night, the original room of the fucking Comedy Store. I'm a brand new comic, and I freeze. And I look out. It's like, I mean, it felt like 6 hours. It was probably 45 seconds. It probably wasn't even that big of a deal. And I freeze, and I look out, and I'm just like, fuck. What am I going to do? Do I just get off and go and find the list? Do I say, excuse me? I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want anybody to be mad at me, because, like, it's a big thing for a lot of performers. We're people pleasers, man, and, like, you just don't, It's like, I'm not here desperately seeking your approval because mom and dad loved me enough. So, like, you loving me is important. And I can't remember this fucking guy's name. And it's at least 30 seconds of me just staring at 200 blank faces. No one is rooting for me. They hated me. And finally, I hear a guy in the back, like, John Campbell. I don't know the guy's name, but he, like, yells. You'd think I'd know his name all these years later because it was just such a humiliating experience. And so I said his name and he gets up on stage and I go over to the producer and I was like, I'm so sorry. And he was like, hey, it's fine. I'm not mad, but like, you got to remember these fucking people's names. And I was like, dude, you got to give me a list. I need to hold the list because I'm visual. And then after, he was like, oh, okay, here you go. And that's both of our faults. One, his, because that's a really bizarre method on how to handle producer host situation. And then it's also on me. I was new. I didn't know to be like, hey, can I get my own list? And the rest of the show, I mean, the audience hated me. I bombed, every time I tried to just like get them to like me a little bit more, they just like hated me some more. And a lot of the comics that I knew, that was a good opener for them to be like, hey, Kim, thanks for remembering my name, or like whatever, making fun of it. Like it ended up being okay, but that producer never asked me back, which is fine. He's kind of a douche, but like, and I've never been back to the OR, and I can host the shit out of a room. I mean, that's where I do a lot of my work now, and it haunts me, man. I don't even know why we got into this. A lot of this is going to be me going, why did I tell you all of that? It's funny. The microphone kind of looks like a little head. So I'm like looking at it, talking to it like it's a tiny little head. It's fun. So I'm a little bit about me. I don't know if if you're listening to episode 1, you probably know me. But in case you don't, in case somebody sent you this or you stumbled upon it, my name is Kim Kral. I've been a comedian, I'm going to say 7 years. I started about 10 years ago. Then I quit for a little while. I promise I'll always be honest, and sometimes I will be a little vulnerable, so it might be, it'll be horrifying for me. But in the effort of being honest, I started about 10 years ago, and there's a man in the industry, or in the scene. It's wild he's still in the scene, by the way, and hasn't been kicked out, but he sexually harassed me quite a bit. He was the only one that was giving me stage time at the time, and I mean, he was like pinning me against walls, it's so awful to say this now, or like cornering me in booths at clubs and like trying to kiss me, and like I was so scared, and I was so young, and I thought nobody would give me any other stage time, or I wasn't worthy of saying no to this. Like if I said no to this guy, maybe, it's very cliche, and I didn't realize until recently that is why I stepped back from comedy for a while. And I'm not alone with this guy, and how he treats women. I was at the Improv, I don't know, a couple of months ago with a comedian, woman friend of mine, and we were in the main bar area, and we were going to go into the lab area, the Improv lab, and you can go back through the hallway to do it, or you can go around front outside. And we were going to go through the hallway. That's what most people do when they're comics. But as I was looking at her, she froze and said, can we please go around front? And I was like, what? She goes, I just don't want to pass that hallway. And then I turned around and I saw this comic who had, got me basically to just like freak out about comedy because he was such an awful predator. And she's like, I just don't want to be touched by him. And I was like, oh, yeah, me too. And we went around, and it's bananas. Like, this guy's so irrelevant, but it's bananas that I've heard he's been banned from quite a bit of clubs, most of the clubs. But as of 6 months ago, he was at the Improv. But I hope he's been banned from the Dojo, the Comedy Store. And so I started comedy about 10 years ago, but I quit for a couple of years because, now unbeknownst to my, self-conscious, I quit because of that. And about 7 years ago, I started an open mic with my dear friend Whitney Melton, very funny comedian. An open mic in North Hollywood. We called it Mouthy Pants, and we created this awesome community. And we did it. It was like a workout room. It was more than an open mic. It was like a party, family a community. And then it was like a workout mic for these huge comics now. Melissa Villaseñor used to come, like 3 times a month, and now she's on SNL. Laurie Kilmartin would come. She writes for Conan. Like these huge, my buddy Adam, he writes for Ellen. Like it's these huge comics would roll through. And so it got me back into comedy, and also got me like a tribe of like men and women that had my back no matter what, And so we ended up passing off the baton, as you will, to younger comics after like 4 years of that, and it's still going on. It's in North Hollywood. It's called Killer Mike now. It's at the Other Door. It's really funny. The Other Door is an old lesbian bar, and Whitney is a male, and he was my partner back then. And I don't know, like 4 or 5 months into us running Mouthy Pants, I went to Whitney and I was like, dude, it's an old lesbian bar. And he goes, yeah. Did you just think everyone was super nice to you here? Like I'd walk in and I'd get drinks bought for me. Everyone would hug me. And I just assumed that happened to Whitney too. And he's like, no. It's so much fun. It's interesting. Going back always makes me feel like I'm going back to high school though. So I'm like oddly uncomfortable in that space, but it definitely gave my voice back in comedy. And I met a lot of really dear friends now. I have a show, another show on Dash Comedy Radio, with comedian Ken Gar, the Kim and Ken Show. It's every Monday night live. It's not live right now because, we're all on lockdown. So we're just playing some cool old episodes. Like Krista Allen, who played Billy on fucking Days of Our Lives. I grew up watching that broad. And that episode, we both actually cried a little because we got super deep, which was really cool. So yeah, a little bit about me is that I'm from Colorado. I'm a diehard Bronco fan. Like diehard Bronco fan. I will murder someone over the Denver Broncos. That's crazy, but I do know that John Elway is sort of my god, and if I saw him, I'd probably cry. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In fact, I often sit around and think if it's okay that I love Buffy and the Broncos the same amount. That's weird. I keep a Buffy the Vampire Slayer action figure in my purse. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. Guys, I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. I had a bizarre childhood. I always say bizarre. My buddy Mitch always says when I go, I had a weird childhood, or I didn't have the best childhood. He goes, you saying that is like someone going, 9/11 was kind of a bad day. I had a pretty bad childhood, guys. So I think that is a lot of why I am very like all over the place in terms of like my gaps of knowledge. Both my parents are alcoholics, addicts. My dad raised me. He was not the best man. He that's not anything I'm going to get into on episode 1, maybe episode 14. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, my father wasn't, let's just say neither of my parents probably should have had a kid. I did have these wonderful grandparents, my grandma and papa. Man, I love those two people. They died a while ago. Oh, also, you probably ought to know, if you're going to listen to this, I'm super casual about death. Not that it doesn't affect me. I've just been around a lot of it. Like I've been to more funerals than most people have who are in their like 60s. Like I was around a lot of death. I don't know. We're also Catholic. So like there's tons of brothers and sisters. So tons of my uncles and aunts all have died. Like my great uncles, my great aunts, like, you know what I mean? So it's not just like, but then I also grew up outside of Littleton, Colorado. I grew up in Littleton, Colorado, which was where Columbine happened. I went to a high school about 10 minutes outside of Columbine. And one of my friends died in Columbine. So like as a young girl, I dealt with death a lot. And so I have sort of like this morbid, very casual view on it. Not view. I don't know. Now I'm just I guess this whole thing is just going to be me rambling. And now I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, is this crap? Do I have to start over? I'm almost at an hour. I'm at like 45 minutes right now, I think. I forgot to time it, but I'm you would think this thing I'm recording on would tell you how long it's been, but it's not going to tell me that. But yeah, now I'm like, is this interesting? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if it's funny? Who knows if it's not? I am in my closet. I think I might set up a fan. I wonder if you guys will be able to hear it. But that's a little bit about me. And so I was, we're in quarantine, we're in lockdown. Dude, I get so upset, man. Like there's some people that I don't know if I can be friends with after this. Like, and I know I'm trying, like my buddy Ali, who is a scientist who, knows quite a bit about this shit, he's being very forgiving. He's like people don't know how to handle these situations. Like this is like a brand new situation for literally the world. So people are just handling it in very different ways. And he's like, maybe be forgiving, but there's some people that I'm like, I don't know if I can be friends with you after this. I have one girlfriend who's like, it's okay if I see friends. Like they go to a lot of public places, and then I go to a lot of public places, and then we come and see each other. And I'm like, and I was like, girl, that's really unsafe. And she's like, I don't care if I get sick. Like I'll be fine. And it's like, that's not what it is. Like, no, like of course you'll probably be fine. Although that is proving to be maybe not, man. Like there's like a 34-year-old died like 2 days ago over this whole thing. And so the fact that like it's just a really selfish thing, and it's just making me look at. And then I also know that a lot of people are having a hard time with this alone time. And I for sure go back and forth. Like I go from one moment of being like, oh my God, this pause, the earth is getting a pause, I'm getting a pause, like I'm creating all this art and everything's going to be fine and my rent's paid for the next month and I'm going to be okay, to complete freak out that what if this goes till August? Like I won't be able to pay my bills jobless till August. And so it's like this weird, like serene then freak out, serene then freak out. And then right before this whole thing, I was getting to know this guy, and I really liked this guy, and he liked me too. And then one day he basically asked for space and, assured me it had nothing to do with me, which I know it didn't. But then, I don't know, we talked like a couple of days before we went on lockdown, or a couple of days after I went on lockdown. He's in Seattle, and he was like straight mean. He was just mean, like not at all. And it's interesting, like old Kim, like a year ago Kim, would have been like, oh, I'll still talk to this guy because I just don't, like, I have terrible taste in men, and I just put up with like the worst type of behavior. But I've done a lot of work on myself in the last year, and I just, the second he got mean, I have two best friends, Katie and Dave, and I didn't grow up around people, couples that I could mimic. I'm a child of divorce. Most of the couples I had growing up, besides my grandparents, were very dysfunctional, codependent, or divorced couples. And so I look at my friends Katie and Dave, and they're kind of like a beacon of what I want in a relationship. And when this guy, basically we were talking, and I was like, what are you up to tonight? And he goes, I'm going to go to bed. And I went, oh, it's like 8:30. Meaning like, well, that's early, right? And he goes, yeah, good job. Someone knows how to tell time. And I was like, whoa, I could never, ever picture Dave talking to Katie that way. Ever. And that's kind of where my bar is. And something just clicked. And I was like, oh, I can't talk to this guy anymore. He's kind of dragging me along, being like, I need space, but I still like you. I need space, but I still like you. I need space, but, like that whole back and forth, like, don't leave because I don't want to be alone, but, like, I don't want to deal with anything. You know what I mean? Like that bullshit thing. But then you're going to be mean on top of it. So something clicked, and I was just like, nah, I'm good, man. And for 2 weeks, we communicate through an app, WhatsApp, instead of, and it'd be so funny if he'd be listening to this. I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, man. Because that's how weird humans are. Instead of communicating directly with the girl, you're going to listen to all her bullshit. Maybe not, though. We communicate through WhatsApp, and I just turned off the notifications and hid the app, and I haven't been on any of his stuff because I was just like, you know what? And today I had a really sad day about it. Like, I miss talking to him, and I have this, like, I guess I just miss the human that I thought he was, and like what I thought it was going to be. Wow, that got really sad. Did that get really sad? I can't promise this won't all just be like, funny, I pooped my pants, funny. Also, speaking of poop your pants, all right, So basically what I'm going to try and do with this is I want 3, speaking of pooping your pants, I want 3 segments so far, and maybe there'll be more. I want Too Much Information, which was me eating a piece of cake on the toilet, which if you haven't done it, you know what, man, liberate yourself. It's quarantine 2020, baby. Eat on the toilet. I've ate on the toilet several times in my life, always by accident, but what are you gonna do? And then sometimes when people are coming over, like I have company, no fucking joke, every time I have company, my brain goes, better check the bathroom trash can for wrappers so people won't know sometimes you eat on the toilet. That's some too much information for you, my friends. I mean, it's always something, it's not like a full-blown burrito. I don't like burritos, so if it was, like maybe I'd eat a taco. I haven't had like a steak on the toilet, but I wouldn't be opposed. And then I want another session called Poop Scoop, where I talk about poop for a little bit, because I love poop so much, man. Man, I love poop. Poop is so funny to me. What I love about it is just that like everyone does it, but once you become an adult, you have like a mission to pretend that you don't poop. I have this weird fear right now that I'm going to open up my closet and there's just going to be a man standing there in a potato sack mask. Nope. I've been worried about that my whole adult life, and there's never been that. Knock on wood, someone. But I love poop, dude. So my poop scoop for tonight is I'm wondering who has pooped their pants as an adult. Now, that's a trick question. There are 3 answers to that. Here's my poop pants story. My time is coming. Or I am full-blown lying to you and I haven't pooped my pants. Like, if you've never pooped your pants as an adult, bro, you're going to poop your pants. Your time's coming. I pooped my pants for the first time as an adult. I can't believe Is this where I lose people? I pooped my pants as an adult. I was 21 years old. Which is arguable if I was an adult. And I was in gridlock traffic on the 405 in that little strip where between the 101 and Sepulveda, where there's like a mile of no exits. And I had these bad enchiladas. And they were good, but they were bad for the tummy, And I was going to poop my pants. And it was one of those things where I was like sweating and trying to figure out how to take my mind off of it. Like anything to just get my mind off of pooping my pants. And I was like, turn the radio on, turn it off, call someone, don't call someone, roll up the window, roll down the window, sing. I don't know. Like I was just like something to get me to not shit my pants. Anything. Like what's happening? And then all of a sudden I heard this voice in my head and it just went, this is happening. So I leaned back, I grabbed a towel that was thankfully in my back seat and wrapped myself in it. I shit my pants. I full blown, not a little bit of poop, just completely shit my pants. And then I got to my apartment. I don't know, it was rush hour traffic, so probably longer than I want to admit how long it took me to get to my apartment. But I get up to my apartment, I pull into the alleyway and I wrap the towel all the way around me, and then I like crab shimmy, like you know what I mean, like where I'm like holding it up but like dancing to my shower into my apartment, hoping not to see anybody, put my hazards on. And then I go into the shower fully clothed, turned on the shower, and then just sat there and cried, fully clothed with poop just pouring out of me and the towel on the ground, just crying. And then I vowed to myself, I was like, I am never telling anybody about this ever. And then cut to like a couple of months later, I'm with my best friend Sarah, and we're drunk, and I was like, I need to tell you something. And I tell her the whole story. I was like, I've never told anybody that. And she goes, yeah, you've told me that story like 6 times. I was like, oh. And then when I was doing comedy, like before I quit for a little bit because of the creepy guy, I was at the John Lovitz Club, and I was on stage, and I asked if anybody had ever pooped their pants before. Kind of one of my favorite questions to ask on stage. And a girl raises her hand, and she's like, I have. But like everybody turns and looks at her and starts judging her. And especially like I'm like as a comic, and for me anyway, I don't want to like ever humiliate someone in the audience. I think it makes me look like an asshole, and it makes me look like a bully. So I wanted to let everyone looked at her like, oh my God, you had. So that is, and I was like, don't worry, girl. And then I told that story. I've only told that story like 3 times on stage because it doesn't go well. It's gross. It's not attractive. It was a hard debate for a while too, if I should keep those shorts. And you know what? I think I kept them. I think I washed them and I kept them. And then I like thought about, they were like weird army green, like cargo shorts that aren't in style anymore. And I think that's why I eventually got rid of them. But I think I kept them because I was like, oh, I really like those shorts. And if I wash them, like no one's going to know I shit in them on the 405. So that's been your poop scoop. Every week I will tell some sort of story about poop. And if you don't like it, you can just pause or hit mute for like, what was that, 5 minutes? It's fine. And then I also want to have, well, that one, I wanted the other segment I want to have. So we got Too Much Information. We got the poop scoop, which Too Much Information came from my buddy Roger, came up with that. And then a comedian friend, very funny, Monterey Martinez, was like, oh, if you don't use TMK as your title, you should use it as your, as like a segment. And once quarantine is over, maybe I'll have some guests and we can play some games about giving too much information. And the poop scoop was from my friend Romy, because she knows how much I talk about poop. So I want to give her a shout out too. Hi, Romy. I just got off a Zoom with her and had a shot. She had a tequila. I had Walking Dead whiskey. Guys, I'm way too into this Walking Dead shit. Can you be way too into it? Kral is a goddamn badass. And then the last segment I want to do, and it's super hokey and super cheesy, but I don't care. It's my podcast. It's called the I'm One Lucky Broad segment. So I kind of wanted to name the podcast Kim Kral's One Lucky Broad Podcast, or broadcast. Thank you again, Romy. That is hilarious. I love that stuff. And I never ever can come up with it or notice it when it's happening. But so I thought I could just do, like, it's such a crazy time, right? Like, it's just such a scary time. And as I said, I've been having ups and downs. Like, I've been sewing while just, like, sobbing my heart out. And you know what? I'm giving myself space to feel those feelings. And I hope you are too. Wherever you are, if you're at home, you know, you're at home, and whoever you're with or your alone time, like, I hope you give yourself permission to just, like, feel it all. Like this is such a cool pause and growing time for all of us that, like, you can really just spend time with yourself. And if you gotta cry, man, fucking cry. If you're angry, I screamed in a pillow 2 days ago. I was so frustrated. I've lived next to my neighbor for 10 years and I've never heard him. Like, we exchange pleasantries, and he's actually like the perfect neighbor because, like, we say hi, but, like, neither one of us know each other's numbers, or not numbers, but, like, that too, but, like, our names. We don't need to, like, get to know each other. We just fucking, hi, how are you? If I'm leaving my apartment, I have places to go. I don't need to talk to you, you know. And so we've had this perfect, but I guess this whole time he's just been out or at work. He's so fucking loud. He talks so loud, and he plays Call of Duty or some shit for like 12 hours a day. You can just hear him yelling in the video game, and he's clearly talking to someone, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. But whew. So I finally was so frustrating. I was trying to write and I couldn't write because he's yelling to some fake 12-year-old or some shit. I don't know how Call of Duty works, but I always imagine like an adult man and a little boy playing across the country thinking they're friends or some shit. So I was so angry, and I went into my bedroom and I just picked up a pillow and I just screamed as loud as I could. And you know what? I'd recommend it, man. I felt really good afterwards. I felt really, really, really good. Yeah, so I think in this time it's just such a weird time. And so I want to say at the end of every podcast, I want to do a segment called I'm One Lucky Broad, and I implore you too in this time to think of one thing you're grateful for. And I know that's like sparkly hippy dippy bullshit, but like it's true. Every night before I go to bed, and I recommend this, man. I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years, and it's just like a game changer in terms of how you do mentally and personally. And every night before I go to bed, I write 11 things I'm grateful for. I do 10 and 1 for good luck. That's super douchey, I know. But I do 11 things I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's like deep, grateful things that, like, like I really, really am like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. And then other times it's just like simple stuff that you don't think of because I am having one of those days where like the only thing I can be grateful for is that I have shoes on my feet or food in my fridge, which is like something that we all take so much for granted when there's so many people who don't have that. So I don't know. I would recommend it, especially during this time, to just write something you're grateful for every day. 10 things before you go to bed, and just like thank your God, your universe, or your atheism. I don't give a fuck what you believe in. Sky Dad, who cares, So for this One Lucky Broad segment of my podcast, I'm One Lucky Broad because I had this idea. No, that's worded wrong. I'm One Lucky Broad because I have a really dear friend who I'm about ready to hop on a Zoom, who is going to help me launch this whole thing, Matt Neal, who text messaged me and suggested that I do this. Matt has always been very supportive of everything I do, all of my comedy, my writing. He's hilarious. He runs awesome shows. He ran an awesome show in Marina Del Rey. Now he runs an awesome show in Thousand Oaks with another very funny dear friend of mine, Sam Goldstein. And sadly is because we're not going to be able to do it. I was supposed to headline that show this Friday, and I'm so fucking excited to be called a headliner. I've been called that 3 times in my career, and this would have been the 3rd, which is so rad. And I love the show, and I was so excited to do that. And of course, because of the lockdown, it's necessary for us. And I hope they have me back as that. But he's been so supportive. Same with Sam, just so supportive. And Matt messaged me and was like, you should do a solo podcast. This should be a way for people who follow you will be able to keep up with you. And it was scary. I have another show with someone else, and I didn't want to look like I was neglecting that show. And also being seen is something that's really scary. So I think it's pretty cool that I'm able to just do this in my closet, because I am recording and I'm going to release it, but I feel more able, if that's the word, who knows, to be vulnerable in here, because it is just me and a microphone. So who knows what's going to come out, but I'm one lucky broad to have humans in my life that believe in me and support me. So exciting. That's episode 1, guys. I think it's a little over an hour, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? This is great. I am sweating. My sweat stash is on full overdrive. And real quick before we go, my whole body is covered in hair, because since quarantine, I decided, this is a weird thing to drop right at the end, I decided not to shave anything to see how hairy I am. Like, I've been shaving so much for my whole adult life and most of my teenage years, and I'm curious. My armpits are gloriously blowing in the wind. Hair. After my period, I'm going to wax all of it, and I'm going to learn how to wax my own vagina. I'll probably have a Patreon, and I'll probably film all that. Not my vagina, get out of get out of your head, pervs, or whatever. You're not going to see me wax my vagina. You'll probably just see my face while I wax it. But I'm going to film that, and so hopefully there's a lot ahead. That's fun. So this is just episode 1, and stay safe. Please stay home, and tell people you love them, that you love them, and DM me all of your pooping your pants stories. You can find me on everything at KYMKRAL. I'm Kim Kral. I love you all. Thank you. Good night.